Live from the lobby of Grand Hotel, the Detroit Regional Chamber Policy Conference. Michael Patrick Shields, glad to have you with us on Fox 47 television if you're watching and listening on radio stations all across the state. In fact, if you were on Mackinac Island with a transistor radio, if those still exist, you could listen to this program right now. You would hear the Democratic Party Chair, Mark Brewer. Nice to see you, too.
Morning, Michael Patrick.
You had a good line yesterday that Bob King, the UAW president, credited you for, as I understand, in his speech. What did you tell him?
Well, I told him this is about the closest thing to a Republican convention that he and I can get into.
That's right. And he used it effectively, I thought, too. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is Brooks Patterson earlier this week said that when Rick Snyder, the governor, arrived on Mackinac Island, there ought to be people throwing rose petals in the street in front of him. He's on a real high. You think so, too?
Well, this is about the only place in Michigan that they would throw rose petals and applaud the governor. I spoke to a group of 400 senior citizens in Sheboygan yesterday, Michael Patrick, on the way here, and to a person. They despise the governor because of the unfair policies we've seen enacted, tax increases on them, cuts in services, cuts in public education, all to fund this $2 billion giveaway to the corporations and the CEOs in this state. This is the only place in Michigan that he's popular today.
Let's turn to a couple of those business leaders right now. Rob Fowler from the Small Business Association of Michigan and Doug Rothwell, Business Leaders for Michigan. Reaction?
Well, let me just say, I'm kind of glad Mark just said that, because that's the soundbite that is so effective that I wanted to talk about a little bit, and that is, truth is, the people who benefited from the tax cut were not corporate CEOs. They were small business owners. They are the S-corps, the LLCs, the pass-through entities that have had a brick laid on their back for many, many years in the state of Michigan, and that brick has just been taken away. Now that doesn't fit the anti-tax reform mantra or messaging, but that's the reality of it. Is the real beneficiaries were small business owners. You can't say that because that doesn't play quite as well. But the great beneficiaries of this tax bill are small businesses.
Well, and let's just get the facts on the table. Our large corporate fat cat CEOs are going to take their corporate income tax rate from 4.9 to 6% as a result of these changes and lose $2 billion worth of tax credits. We supported this because it is the right thing to do to get Michigan back on track and to get the entrepreneurial spirit moving, which is going to create the jobs to, frankly, fund all the programs that people want to fund. And that's why Rob and I are doing a lot of this together, because we need to send the message out there that we're in this together and we're in it for getting small business back on track.
Well, let me ask these two business leaders here this morning then. If your members don't create jobs, are your members prepared to revert to the higher tax rate, give that revenue back to the taxpayers of Michigan, to the public schools of Michigan, to the firefighters and police of Michigan who are going to be laid off? If you don't create jobs, are you going to give that revenue back?
Well, I'm going to just guarantee you that jobs will be created. And that's an interesting question, again, that we've gotten into this point of believing that the state gives tax money to businesses in exchange for job creation. That's not what just happened. What just happened is businesses are going to get to keep their money.
I just heard you say that you're going to promise to create jobs with that revenue.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And if it doesn't, are your members going to give it back to the taxpayers of Michigan, Rob? To the taxpayers of Michigan.
The small business owners are going to, it's not something that they got from the state in the first place.
So the answer is no, Rob. The answer is no. You're not going to give it back to the taxpayers of Michigan.
Well, I think what I firmly believe is the taxpayers of Michigan, what we've needed are more taxpayers, not higher taxes. And I believe that's this is going to create employment, creates money in the pocket.
Despite the fact that there's not a single study or any experience in any state that has ever happened.
Well,
we're taking a $2 billion gamble with the future of Michigan based on a theory that has never worked.
Mark, okay, so let's talk facts rather than theory. Facts are that the states that have had the fastest job growth and greatest rise in income over the last 10 to 20 years are the states that have tax rates about 2 times lower than Michigan. So I don't know what studies you're trying to find, but we'll give you a bunch of them.
Let's talk about Ohio, just to our south, which
Mark,
a couple years ago
let me
went
just
down
give
this
you,
path.
we've got some empirical evidence here.
And the economy went nowhere.
John Truscott?
Kelly and I have already grown jobs in Michigan since the tax bill was signed. We added a full-time person in Grand Rapids, so I think we just destroyed Mark's argument. I know there will be a lot of other businesses doing exactly the same thing.
John, you can keep your tax cut. What about these folks who, again, we've got senior citizens in the state who are going to pay higher taxes. We've got public schools that are going to suffer. We've got cities on the verge of insolvency and bankruptcy because of the lack of revenue. And you guys are responsible for that.
But
Are you going to give the revenue back if you create
these guys.
jobs?
We are the small businesses, Mark. I mean, we are the folks who are creating the jobs.
Hey, Kelly, you create a job, you can keep your tax cut. What about the rest of these businesses?
Mark, I think this is the way it works. The way it works is small businesses
The way it works is the rest of us pay for your tax cut.
No, that's not the way it works.
My taxes go up. The taxes of seniors go up. The taxes of poor workers go up.
Only
Actually,
way-
we're reinvesting ours. I mean,
See, the only
we're putting
way
it back in the economy.
we're going to get to the point of funding schools better and local governments better is a good economy. The only way we're going to get to a good economy is to have small businesses do what they do best, which is to create jobs. And to not give them tax relief is not a plan forward that puts our state in a better position. We believe what just happened is the beginning of the economic turnaround and really a boost for small business, which is
Governor
necessary.
Snyder, when he campaigned, said he would ask for shared sacrifice from everybody in Michigan. Where's the sacrifice of the business community in what just happened?
You know,
Where?
I've been telling people, if you want a fist fight, tell a small business owner they haven't sacrificed over the last decade, because they have sacrificed it. Many of them,
and
their
Robin, so
entire.
is everybody else.
Yep.
But everybody else's taxes are now going to go up. Where's the sacrifice of the business community in the last 5 months to match the sacrifice of the seniors, the low-wage workers, the school kids in this state who are going to suffer because of this budget and these tax cuts?
Where was the sacrifice of everybody else, Mark, for the last 5 or 6 years while we paid a 22% surcharge on the Michigan business tax?
Have you been paying attention to the budget cuts, to what's been going on around the state?
I know 1% budget cut to K-12 education is devastating.
Well, when you have hundreds, if not thousands, of teachers laid off in the next several months, when you have police and firefighters laid off in the next several months, when you have cities going insolvent in the next several months, tell me about your shared sacrifice. There is no shared sacrifice.
I tell you what, we'll match what happens in the next few years in terms of the economy with what's happened in the last few years, and then we can have this debate.
We'll leave it right there.
You're going to take credit. You're going
Thank
to
you
take
very
credit
much.
for the natural economic
We'll be back
recovery that's
right
about to
after
occur.
this as the conversation goes on.
Sun Country Airlines announces